Hey, what's up guys, Tech9 here and I'm back again with a brand new video. So before I begin, I just want to thank you all so much for watching. And if you have enjoyed my videos, please make sure you leave a thumbs up. Also, don't be a stranger, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So with that being said, I've spent 1 week with the 2024 Moto Edge. And honestly, it's safe to say that this has been so far one of my favorite phones to use in 2024. Obviously, if you can get it for the right price. So I'm going to begin by talking a little bit about the design itself. So the back is again a familiar formula that Motorola have used throughout their 2024 lineup of phones, which has this kind of vegan leather material that wraps all around the back of the phone, even wraps around the camera housing, which is a nice touch. But if you notice when you turn it to the side, it has these kind of curves around the sides that provide a decent grip. And the back also has your dual camera setup that I will definitely discuss in a little bit more in depth later on in the video. At the bottom you do have your bottom facing speaker, a microphone, a SIM tool, and you also have USB-C port that does support up to 68 watts of wire charging, and this phone does have support for wireless charging as well. On the right hand side you do have your power button, volume up and down. Now my problem with these buttons is that they're too thin and they're not really the most clickiest or the most tactile buttons that I've used. But for the most part they work. It just takes a little bit of time to get used to. My favorite feature though on the design of the phone is this action button, which I will also discuss later on in the video. Overall though, if I were to rate this phone's design, I would say that it's a eye-catching design in a way, just because it's using the back as kind of this vegan leather material and it provides a decent grip. It's not a perfect design. The buttons could be a little bit on the wider and larger side and there could be a little bit more tactile, but so far so good. I'm happy with the design of this phone, and this phone is surprisingly thin and light as well, so keep that in mind if you're interested in buying this phone. Now, the next in my conversation without a doubt has to be the display itself, and this is a category where this phone actually shines. And obviously this is the star of the show of this device. At the end of the day, this is the Moto Edge. So the display, you get a 6.6 inch 2400 by 1080p POLED display that supports a billion colors, 144 Hz of peak high refresh rate, HDR10 plus, and this phone has a 1300 nits of peak brightness, which is incredible, as well as a 402 pixels per inch. So bottom line is this: outdoor condition, even in harsh sunlight, this phone gets bright enough to where you can see it under, bright sun conditions. And I want to mention this about the refresh rate. So basically you have the ability to change it between 60 Hz, 120 or 144, or keep it in automatic, where the phone itself would decide which refresh rate would work best for you. I kept it at 120 Hertz because, to be honest with you guys, I didn't really notice the difference between 120 and 144. Obviously the 120 and the 144 Hertz, they will consume the most battery, but you have that feature, use it, abuse it. We'll talk about battery life in the performance segment of the video. Now we also have to adjust the elephant in the room, which is the sides of the phone, or the curved edges. Again, at the end of the day, this is the Moto Edge. Now, some people are going to like it, some people are going to hate it. I'm one of the people that are kind of in the middle. I don't hate it, but I don't love it, right? So it does kind of interrupt some of the content that you're using on this phone when it comes to watching videos. But obviously, when you get used to it, it actually it's not really that bad. I like it. At the end of the day, like I said, sometimes I like it, sometimes I'm not a big fan, but it works for this phone. So the curved edges make for kind of smaller bezels as well. So you get a 90.2% screen to body ratio, which is incredible. And this phone does have Corning Gorilla Glass 3 on the front. And when it comes to watching videos, doing anything that you do on this display is going to be an enjoyable experience for the most part. As far as the speaker quality, I would like you guys to take a listen for the speakers, and then I'll get back to you on some final words about the display and the speakers themselves. So not all apps are supported, some are, some aren't, but this is definitely a welcome upgrade from the previous generation. The next thing is that they did improve the hinge design, so supposedly this is going to be like a smoother experience as far as Okay, so as far as the speaker quality goes, they're pretty good. They do get really loud, but the sound itself is not as crisp and it's not as clear as I would like it to be, but they do the job, they do it very well. So next category that I want to discuss is in the performance department. So this phone has a pretty decent performance. So you do have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 processor based on a 4nm architecture. It is octa-core and it does support the Adreno 710 for your GPU. You get a standard of 256GB of storage as well as 8GB of RAM, wireless charging support, 5000 mAh battery, and all in all though, this phone did not disappoint when it comes to the price to performance ratio. So everything that I did on this phone when it comes to opening up apps, browsing the web, going through social media, anything that required light tasks, this phone handled like a champ. I didn't really have any sluggish or delays or bugs or anything like that. It worked really well. Now, I did notice this phone getting warm on me, but it wasn't nothing too crazy. It was mainly when I was playing games. Maybe because the phone is really thin at the end of the day. As far as my benchmark scores goes, it scored a respectable score, right? It gave me what I expected, which is a 1017 for your single core and 2914 for your multi-core, which is on par with kind of the higher end mid-range devices. So that's definitely respectable. Playing games on this phone would also be an enjoyable experience with these kind of curved edges, especially if you play your games on kind of a vertical angle. Horizontally, you may not enjoy them as much, but they're still fun. So yeah, playing games on this phone would run like a champ. I didn't, again, have any problems with it. Even if you will try to run like high intensive games that do support a higher refresh rate, you would have an enjoyable time with this phone. Now, mind you, these are the type of games that will drain battery life. Speaking of which, the battery life on this phone was fantastic. So the Qualcomm Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 processor was definitely an efficient processor that made the battery life a really good experience. So when it comes to kind of light to medium uses, this phone would last you easily more than a day, right? If you try to do heavy demanding uses, you might be able to push it throughout the day, but it will last you throughout the day at the end of it. So overall, if you're looking for basically a solid performing mid-range device, then you'd found the Moto Edge, and it's definitely something that you should keep in mind when it comes to the performance. Definitely solid for the price. Now the next category, which is an important one, is the camera category. So this phone has a dual camera setup. You get a 50 megapixel main sensor at f1.8 aperture, as well as a 13 megapixel f2.2 that provides you an ultra wide 120 degree field of view. And not only that, as far as what I'm concerned, I did take some pictures with it and we're going to take a look at them here in a little bit, but I like the way that this phone handles kind of photo and video quality. The downside that I do have to say is this: taking pictures, first of all, is really quick and efficient, but switching between the main sensor and the wide angle for some reason took an extra second or so it wasn't as quick as other phones that I've used, even at a lower price point, which is weird. But switching between kind of your photo, your video mode is quick in that regard. And because of the edges, I feel like it provides a better camera interface and a better camera experience. I just wish that switching between one or the other sensors was just a little bit faster, but hey, that's okay. As far as your image quality, here's what I have to say so far. So the pictures that come out of this camera are respectable. They're saturated, they pop, the greens are greener, they're vibrant, and the resolution on this phone, the 50 megapixel resolution, it's not on by default, but you can turn it on. For the most part, this phone takes some pretty sharp pictures, a little bit overexposed sometimes, and the wide angle sensor does not really do a good job from a quality perspective, but it takes some okay pictures at the end of the day. Dynamic range on here is respectable. Again, the sharpness of these photos in general is pretty good. And as far as taking pictures of objects and colors, it's not going to produce the most accurate colors, but it's going to give you kind of saturated looks. And the low light performance is decent. I do have to take some more pictures, which will be in my full camera review, so stay tuned for that. But the basic idea is that this phone has a solid camera, and it also does support 4K recording. Alright, so that's that. I want to quickly speak on one of my favorite or underrated feature of this phone, which is this kind of extra button that they have on the left hand side. You can think of it as kind of an action button that allows you to do a lot of things, actually. So first of all, when you press and hold it, I have it mapped to where it opens up my messages app, and you can customize it to do whatever you want. Double tap to get kind of ready information from Motorola, or if you press and hold for a little bit, it actually gives you the opportunity to go ahead and customize it to do basically a lot of things, almost unlimited amount of things for apps that do support it. For example, if you wanted, you can have it to open up maps, or even have it to open up maps to where you already have an address for your home or your work, and it will automatically opens it up and takes you there. And like I said, you have a lot of actions. You can have one app that has 6 or 7 actions, or one app that only has one action. And basically this is definitely a feature that is not a gimmick in my opinion. I use it a lot actually, and it's there to save you time at the end of the day. So program it, let it do whatever you want it to do. And one of the things that I've noticed about it is that if you lightly tap it, it will not open up the action that you chose. But if you actually tap it with a little bit of pressure, then it will actually open up the kind of action that you chose. For here, for example, is just the maps. And that's actually really smart from Motorola. I don't know if it was done on purpose or what, but that's actually smart. That avoids you accidentally tapping it while it's in your pocket. So definitely thumbs up from Motorola. And of course, you can't forget the chop to open up the flashlight. All right. My bottom line conclusion when it comes to the Moto Edge 2024 model is that this is definitely one of the most well-rounded budget phones that I have used in a while. However, the $599 MSRP price point is a little bit on the steeper side for a Motorola device, unfortunately, and I hate to say it like that, but it's just the truth. Because at that point, as a consumer, you do look into kind of the Pixel route, which does support a much better camera quality and is just as well-rounded phone as this device. But for the price that I've been seeing it on some carriers, the $299 price point, if you can get it at that price point, it's a steal easily. Honestly, for $399, it still is a steal. So keep that in mind. With that being said, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this device. So leave them in the comments below. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.